The moving truck rolled into the quiet cul-de-sac of Willow Creek Lane at 8 a.m. On a crisp Thursday in April 2024, its engine rumbling through the serene neighborhood of Pineview, Oregon. I've been bracing for this day, not because I wasn't thrilled about the Housia cozy, cedar-shingled bungalow left to me by my late uncle, Tom, but because of the warning he'd tucked into his will. In his final letter, scrawled in shaky handwriting, he'd written, "Laura Hensley made my last years a living hell. Maybe you can set things right." As a state investigator specializing in HOA misconduct, I knew exactly what I was up against. For 17 years, I'd been dismantling petty tyrants like Laura ever since what happened to my sister Lily. But inheriting a case with my uncle's house? That was a first. Barely an hour after the truck parked, I heard a screen door slam across the street. A woman stormed toward me, her auburn bob bouncing with each purposeful stride. She was in her early 60s, clad in a pristine athleisure outfit that screamed money and control. Her eyes locked onto the truck like it was a personal insult. "Are you the new owner?" she barked, skipping any pleasantries. I nodded, wiping sweat from my brow. "I'm Laura Hensley, president of the Willow Creek HOA, and that truck violates our community standards." Her tone was sharp, like she was scolding a child. I raised an eyebrow, keeping my cool. "What's the issue exactly?" I asked. Laura's lips curled into a smug smile. "Blue moving trucks are prohibited from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's in Section 5.2 of our bylaws." I'd read enough HOA rulebooks to know this was nonsensical legitimate HOA regulates truck colors. But instead of calling her bluff, I played along, pulling out my phone to record discreetly. "Could you show me your badge number for the report?" I asked, feigning innocence. Laura's face flushed crimson. "Badge number? I don't need one. I've been president for 9 years, and I know these rules better than anyone." That was her first mistake. Oregon State law caps HOA presidency at 7 consecutive years. She just admitted to breaking the law, and I had it on tape. Laura wasn't done. She whipped out her phone and dialed 911, claiming my truck was causing a public disturbance. I exchanged glances with the movers, who looked like they'd stumbled into a soap opera. When 2 officers arrived, the younger one humored Laura's rant about aesthetic violations, while the older one, Officer Daniels, approached me. "What's going on here?" he asked, his tone suggesting he'd dealt with Laura before. I explained I was just moving in, inherited the place from my uncle, and Laura was upset about the truck's color. He glanced at the vehicle, then at Laura, muttering, "She calls us a lot." Laura doubled down, insisting to the officers that her 9-year reign gave her authority. Daniels raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, state law limits HOA terms to 7 years. You sure about that timeline?" Laura stammered, her confidence cracking, but she brushed it off, ranting about outsiders ruining the neighborhood. The officers shut her down, explaining HOAs don't control moving trucks, and left her fuming as we unloaded my boxes. As the truck pulled away, a kind-faced woman in her 70s approached with a tray of brownies. "I'm Ellen Carter, your neighbor," she said, her smile warm but cautious. "You handled Laura differently. Most folks either fight her and lose or give in. What's your story?" Her question hinted at deeper knowledge, and I suspected she'd seen Laura's tactics before. That night, I sat in Tom's dimly lit living room, reading his journal. Page after page detailed Laura's harassment fines for unkempt shrubs when his arthritis flared, penalties for a faded mailbox that was brand new. The last entry, written weeks before he died, broke my heart. Laura came by again, photographing every blade of grass. "I'm too tired to fight. I just want peace." I thought of Lily, my sister, who at 13 had been traumatized by an HOA president in our old neighborhood in California. Fake rules, relentless fines, and police calls over nothing had left her with crippling anxiety. We'd fled across state lines to escape. Now, history was repeating itself, but this time I wasn't a helpless kid. I called my supervisor at the Department of Housing. "Laura Hensley's been illegally holding office for 9 years, filing false reports and targeting residents. I'm requesting an undercover investigation." Approval came within hours. The next morning, a violation notice was slipped under my door, signed by Laura herself. My lawn, apparently, was 0.8 inches too long, warranting a $250 fine. I laughed. Tom's yard was pristine, not a weed in sight. Over the next week, more notices arrived. $175 for a non-compliant mailbox color, $100 for parking my car too long in my own driveway. Then came the kicker, a $300 fine for failure to submit a landscaping plan. I checked the bylaws. No such rule existed. Laura was inventing violations, but I needed her to keep going to reveal her full playbook. So I did the unexpected. I paid the first fine, knocking on her door with a check and a smile. I appreciate you clarifying these rules, Laura. Can you help me stay compliant? Her demeanor shifted instantly, like a predator sensing easy prey. She invited me in for tea, gloating about her 9 years of leadership and over 200 successful violation cases. She described driving out problem residents with fines and creative pressure, her words dripping with pride. Ellen knocked during our chat, bringing cookies and revealing she was an HOA board member. Laura's warmth vanished, her tone turning icy. Ellen, we're discussing private HOA matters. Ellen stood her ground. As a board member, I have a right to be here. After Ellen left, Laura's mask slipped further. She thinks she knows better, but she doesn't understand what it takes to control a place like this. I've dealt with 14 families who ignore my rules. They all left eventually. Her smile was chilling as she described forcing the Parker family out after 2 years of relentless fines. I recorded every word, my stomach turning at her casual cruelty. Then came her boldest move. One afternoon, I returned home to find my front door ajar. As an investigator, I'm paranoid about security locks are always triple-checked. Instead of calling the police, I slipped inside, senses on high alert. Nothing was trashed, but in my office, I found a folder of fake documents. Invoices for services I'd never provided, bank statements for non-existent accounts. Someone was framing me for fraud. My hidden cameras, installed on day 2, had caught an Alaman in a workman's jacket picking my lock, planting the papers, and making a call. It's done, Laura. Papers are in the office and kitchen, like you said. I'll call the cops tomorrow about suspicious activity. I had him on video, face and voice clear as day. I called Laura, my voice trembling with fake panic. Someone broke into my house. They left weird papers, business documents, bank statements. Can you help? Her concern was laughably fake, but then she slipped. Check the oak desk in your study. And that safe by your computer. Burglars always target those spots. I never mentioned a desk or safe. Laura, I said, my tone hardening. How do you know the layout of my house? Silence. Then, a shaky excuse. I was just guessing. Most homes have desks and studies, right? I pressed further. You described exactly where the papers were planted. Either you broke in, or you told someone to. Her voice turned venomous. Be careful with accusations. Troublemakers don't last long here. I texted her, resign from the HOA within 24 hours, or I go to the police. Predictably, she called back, spitting threats about her connections and resources. I let her rant, recording every word. The emergency HOA meeting was packed, the community center buzzing with tension. Laura arrived late, flanked by nervous board members, her navy blazer screaming authority. She launched into a preemptive attack, waving forged documents claiming I was a professional agitator targeting HOAs. It was a clever move, but I was ready. I projected a timeline of the 14 families she'd driven out with fake violations, backed by Ellen's testimony as a board member. The room fell silent as neighbors recognized names. Laura snapped, screaming about her sacrifices to maintain order after her son's death in a reckless driving accident a decade ago. I swore I'd keep this place safe, she cried, listing families she'd taught consequences. The crowd erupted. Neighbors stood, sharing stories of her cruelty, fines for a child's shock art, liens for unapproved holiday lights. I played the break-in footage and her damning phone call. Laura's face drained of color as her voice echoed, describing my home's layout. Ellen called for a vote to remove her. Every hand shot up. Laura fled, muttering about the community's mistake. 3 days later, she went to the media, painting herself as a victim of my conspiracy. Channel 9 News invited us both for a live face-off. In the studio, Laura spun a polished tale of her dedicated service and my deceptions. I stood, holding Lily's photo. I'm a state investigator, and I've spent 17 years stopping HOA abusers like Laura. She harassed my uncle to death and drove 14 families from their homes. My sister, Lily, was 13 when an HOA bully like Laura destroyed her childhood. I played the recordings, showed the forged documents. Laura crumbled, sobbing about her son's death and her duty to maintain order. I softened. Laura, your loss doesn't justify hurting others. My phone rang mid-broadcast. Lily, watching live. You stopped her, James. You saved those families, and you saved me. Laura was arrested a week later, charged with embezzlement, conspiracy, and filing false reports. She took a plea deal, sentenced to 7 years, and ordered to repay $142,000 in stolen fines. At her sentencing, she whispered an apology, her remorse genuine, but too late. Willow Creek transformed. Ellen became president. Bylaws were rewritten, and we created Lily's Haven, a garden for kids traumatized by HOA abuse, built on a lot Laura once eyed for profit. Lily moved to Pineview, her psychology degree in hand, ready to help others heal. As we watched kids play in the garden, free from fear, my phone rang. Another neighborhood, another tyrant. Her name's Sandra Tate, and she makes Laura look tame. I glanced at Lily, who smirked. There's always another Laura, she said. I nodded. And now, there's always us. What's the most shocking abuse of power you've seen in your community? Have you ever confronted a bully who underestimated you? How far would you go to protect your family from someone like Laura? Share below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories of justice.